Hello, today we're talking all about setting powder for the face and the under eyes. I have some fantastic options here for you for all skin types, even dry, mature skin. I have drugstore, high-end, pressed, loose, translucent, pink, and brightening options. Basically, whether you're 35 or 85, by the end of this video, you will walk away with the setting powder option that's going to work for you. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new, and let's go ahead and get started. I put each of these powders into sort of categories that I felt fit them the best. I thought you might be looking for certain properties or maybe trying to avoid certain properties. Who knows? You'll see as we start going through the video. So this first category, if we're calling it that, is drugstore loose translucent powder that I think is great for all skin types. This is Wet n Wild Photo Focus translucent loose powder. I have raved about this for years because it not only sets my dry textured under eyes beautifully and never exaggerates any dryness or flakes I have on the perimeter of my face. It also does a beautiful job of softly mattifying my shine prone areas in the center of my face. Because my under eyes are so dry and the rest of my face is combination, I get shine and oil breakthrough in the center, and then the outer part of my face is normal and can be dry. I sort of deal with everything. So powders can be difficult. And this one is silky and weightless, and it gives such a natural, soft focus, blurring effect that really melds with my skin and just looks beautiful. This has such high-end quality to it, and you get so much for your money here. This is 0.7 ounces and it runs around $8. I actually think this is one of the best drugstore powders around, and Wet n Wild is cruelty-free too. And we need to talk about talc because this is a powder video, and talc has been in powder cosmetics products as long as I can remember. Now, even though talc has been deemed as safe in cosmetic products because of the small quantities you use, the scare is out there and brands are responding to consumers, and many of them are removing talc from a lot of their powder products. But talc is often what makes a product we love because it gives it that silky, flawless look on our skin. I mean, this was a holy grail product for tons of people, and there was an outrage with the reformulation when they took the talc out. People still aren't over this. I mean, it wasn't that long ago, but it's been a pretty big deal. Although there are some really pretty powders out there without talc. I have several in this video, and I will let you know which powders do or don't have talc in case that's a concern for you, especially with loose powder. If there's a concern with inhalation, this does have talc, but I still stand by the fact it's a beautiful powder. This is the only category where I have two powders and not just one, but there's a specific reason for that. So this is the same category we just talked about, but the high-end non-drugstore version. So we're talking loose translucent powder for all skin types. It works great for both the under eyes and face, no matter if you're dealing with dryness, oiliness, whatever it is. It's a beautiful powder. This is Haus Labs Bio Blurring Loose Setting Powder. This is cruelty-free, vegan, and talc-free. Now there's one translucent shade on Sephora's website and five on Haus Labs website. It has a nice sifter. And if you have dryness or texture or mature under eyes, this is skincare infused with some really nice ingredients that can help with hydration, redness, irritation, just to name a few things. That's one thing I like about Haus Labs in general, is that I really feel like they thoughtfully formulate their products. So on top of being skincare infused, it's a really finely milled gel powder formula that melts into your skin and blurs and smooths and just invisibly sets everything basically to perfection. It's weightless. In my opinion, there's nothing not to like about this powder. I can keep saying it doesn't look like powder. It looks like your skin throughout this video, but that's going to get really repetitive, but that's exactly what this does. The other powder in this category is one that has been a bestseller for years. It's been a favorite among many of us for years and years and years. I think I've gone through maybe 4 at least of these in my lifetime. This is a travel size that I just traveled with this weekend. This is Bare Minerals Mineral Veil. So this gives you something slightly different from the House Labs option I just gave you because this is a mineral powder. And I appreciate the fact that they have a twisting sifter even on their smaller powder option here because it comes in really handy when you're traveling. It makes it a lot less messy. It's also around the same price as House Labs too. This is $35 for 0.3 ounces, the regular size, and House Labs is $38 for 0.24 ounces. And it's cruelty-free, vegan, and talc-free too. It's a very weightless powder and does a fantastic job of absorbing oil yet never accentuating any dryness, and it blurs pores and fine lines and gives a naturally airbrushed finish to your skin. It's just a really nice setting powder, a cult favorite, if you will, that just keeps sticking around despite all the new releases. Now, I will say if I'm reaching for one over the other, this one, there's just something about it. This edges it out for me. I don't know what it is. I just have a love affair with House Labs powder, but I couldn't not include Mineral Veil. Would this be a proper setting powder video without Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Finish? I don't think so. I have loved this for years and years and years. Now, I don't mean this, although I clearly have loved this, but I have repurchased this over and over, even though I've shared dupes with you that I think are really great. There's just something about the original, and I am glad that this is now available in refillable packaging for sustainability, of course, but also to save a little bit of money. So the category for this is the same as what we were just talking about, but in pressed form. For me, this is a beautiful pressed translucent powder for all skin types that sets my dry textured under eyes beautifully and also works perfectly for the rest of my face, my shine prone areas and my normal dry areas too. This is actually one of the most beautiful under eye setting powders in my opinion anyway. It just sets undetectably and never emphasizes any fine lines. This has an ultra fine creamy texture. It blurs imperfections and just gives a really smooth appearance of the skin. I mean, it just disappears because of these light diffusing particles that are in here that you can't see because there's no shimmer. But it's also got rose wax and almond oil, which help nourish and soften and moisturize, which is great for your skin overall, but especially around the eye area, and is especially great if you have dry or mature skin. It disappears into my skin and gives sort of a soft, velvety, very natural skin-like finish. And I feel like it's just a forever favorite for both my eyes and my face. My drugstore pressed powder option that I think is beautiful for all skin types is Flower Beauty Light Illusion Perfecting Powder. I've shared this for years, and I actually think it comes very close in quality to Charlotte Tilbury. And I've shared this in a dupes video before for the Charlotte Tilbury powder. I think this runs around $15. The shade I have is Porcelain. Now, instead of light diffusing particles, this has next generation blurring pigments, and it has that same creamy texture to it that Charlotte Tilbury has that just disappears into your skin, that works well under my eyes and on my face, and that just gives that natural soft velvety finish. Basically, almost everything I said about Charlotte Tilbury, I'm saying about Flower Beauty, with the exception that Flower Beauty is cruelty-free. Now, if you have extremely dry under eyes, Charlotte Tilbury might work a little bit better for you because the formula is slightly thinner, but they are very, very close. And I think I forgot to say earlier that Charlotte Tilbury is not talc-free, nor is Flower Beauty. When we lost our beloved original formula of Givenchy Prism Libre powder and gained the disastrous reformulation, I started hunting around and checking out other options for brightening pink tinted powders and came across some duds, but also some nice options. I have a couple to share with you, including this one that I think is a nice pressed brightening pink tinted option that works well both under the eyes and on the face and works for pretty much all skin types. I'll explain more about that here in a minute. But this is not only great for setting and brightening in general, but if you're looking for something that's sweat, humidity, and water resistant, this is a great option. And there are some interesting ingredients in here too. This is a Tower 28 Get Set Blur Powder. I have it in Palisades Pink. I think you can tell it's not that pink, but it does a great job of brightening. There are 3 other shades to choose from too. It's also talc-free, vegan, and cruelty-free. Now there is no mirror, which I would have loved, but I think that helped keep the cost less than $30. So they not only formulated this to have all of those resistant qualities, but they formulated it for sensitive skin with kaolin clay, which is nice for sensitive skin and helps control shine, but it also has squalane, which helps hydrate and nourish. And that hydrophobic silica, which is what improves that sweat resistance, also helps the look of skin elasticity. What I found is that when I apply this to my face, because I have some shine prone areas, if I press it in with a puff or a sponge, it gives a nice soft matte appearance. So I don't do that under my eyes because I have dry skin in that area. When I press just a little bit under my eyes with a brush, it has a very similar finish to my Holy Grail under eye setting powder, which we'll talk about in a minute. It's a really beautiful powder in all areas. I did need to kind of figure out what worked for me best in terms of application. So that leads me to the skin types this might be good for. I would say it's great for all skin types because it's worked for me on all areas of my face, and it's never exaggerated any dryness or flakes I've had because I've tailored it to each area of my skin very successfully, and in doing so it works beautifully on all areas. But if you have extremely dry skin or very dehydrated skin with flakes, I'm not sure about that. I would love to know your experience with this powder or any others in the comments down below. I also have a Drugstore brightening pink tinted setting powder, which may not have been the case if I was doing this video a couple months ago, because there are very few available from the Drugstore, which will probably change. They'll probably start coming out with them left and right, but I've been really impressed with this one. This is a loose option. This is Lottie London Ready, Set, Go, and I think it's great for both the under eyes and the face. And I just realized how close the name is to the Tower 28, and you can see the color is pinker than Tower 28, but it doesn't brighten as much. I've even heard some people think it darkens their under eye, although I didn't have that experience, which is kind of shocking since my discoloration is pretty strong under my eyes. This is very finely milled and creamy. I can't even feel it. It's so cloud-like as I stick my finger in here. I'm not feeling anything. It's so lightweight, it's extremely finely milled, and it does a fantastic job of setting my under eye area and all areas of my face without ever exaggerating dryness, and at the same time giving a nice soft matte natural finish that doesn't look like powder. I think this is $7, around $7 for half an ounce, so you're also getting a lot here. This is my Holy Grail under eye setting powder that I think works beautifully for all skin types to set, smooth, blur, and brighten. Even when everyone else was talking about how fantastic the original formula of Givenchy Prism Libre was, I felt like this looked so much more flawless on my under eyes, and I kept trying to make Givenchy Prism Libre work the same way for me on my under eye area specifically, but this, it's just been it for me for a long time. This is Pat McGrath Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Under Eye Setting Powder. So this is the one powder in this video that is specifically for the under eye area, although you can brighten with it and use it on other areas of your face if you want to. I know some people do that. So I have it in shade Light, which looks white, but it's just a translucent brightening shade. And I also have it in Baby Pink. So I'll just swatch these on the back of my hand really quickly for you so you can see the difference. This is a consistent repurchase for me because it just works beautifully for my under eye area. So it's talc-free, cruelty-free, vegan, and it's a silky, sheer, weightless baked powder formula that's designed to give this soft focus blurred effect without settling into fine lines or building up on your skin. And you don't need much. I think sometimes when people say they can see this, it's because because they're using too much. When you initially look at it, you can see there's a hint of a sheen in here from some light diffusing mica, but it's not a glimmer or a shimmer. You don't see that once it's applied under your eyes. You just sweep a tiny bit and it flatters and blurs and smooths and sets everything into place. I will not be without this powder, and I think I've determined that I do like the baby pink shade a little bit better than the light shade, which is a little bit surprising because when they came out with baby pink originally, I was kind of like, I don't think I can see that much of a difference. But over time, I find myself reaching for baby pink over and over and over and over. So far, we've talked about some fantastic setting powders that lock your makeup in really well, no matter what skin type you have, all the way from oily to dry. But we haven't talked about any that really focus on controlling shine if you have oily areas or shine-prone areas, which can be an issue. So to start, I have 2 loose options for you because there may be features or something about one or the other that you may prefer or not like. So I'm giving you 2 options to choose from. So my first loose powder option for oily to, say, normal skin, it also does a really great job of brightening. I have not found another setting powder that blurs and airbrushes my skin while combating shine the same way this one does. That's why this keeps ending up in my videos. I just can't find anything comparable. So this is Huda Beauty Easy Bake. I have the shade Pound Cake. I think there are 9 shades to choose from, including a pink option called Cherry Blossom. If you want a pink brightening shade, it's got a mesh insert. I think they changed the packaging recently too. If the new packaging is out, I'll have a picture of it. This is cruelty-free, but not talc-free. And there is a slight sweet scent to it that doesn't bother me at all when I'm applying it. I don't notice it after it's applied. Now, even though this is called Easy Bake, I do not bake with this. I use this as a straight up setting powder for my face only. The texture is very finely milled. It gives an airbrushed soft matte finish. It blurs and smooths and kind of corrects your skin at the same time, but it doesn't feel drying and it doesn't cake up either. It's got vitamin E to help moisturize and strengthen your skin barrier. It's got rice starch powder to help absorb oil and micronized powder, which is what lets you layer it without it caking up. There's a reason why this is a go-to powder for so many people. It's sort of one of a kind. I just haven't found anything else that comes close. Actually, the closest thing is gone. It's the original formula of Givenchy Prism Libre, and they reformulated it. So my second option I have in 2 shades. It's Makeup Forever HD Skin Undetectable Shine Control Setting Powder. I originally bought this in light vanilla before they came out with their corrective shades. So now I also have it in corrective rose, and corrective rose is the shade that I reach for the most because it's also very similar to the Tower 28, not very pink. It just gives a little bit of brightening and very subtle correcting. So there are 6 shades on Sephora and 8 regular shades, plus 4 corrective shades on the Makeup Forever website. Now this is talc-free, but this is not cruelty-free or vegan. I love that they included a puff in here. It's a very soft, circular, triangular puff, but the dispensing mechanism is beautiful in this powder. It's one of the best I've seen. It just doesn't get messy. It's the perfect twisting mechanism that allows you to get out the perfect amount of powder. You just don't end up with a ton in your lid. I mean, look at how clean that lid is. That very rarely happens with loose powders. This is a very finely milled powder that's waterproof, sweat-proof, humidity-proof, transfer-proof, all those things. It also does a really nice job of blurring and diminishing shine and giving a nice soft focus airbrush finish without caking or exaggerating dryness or texture. It has squalane to hydrate, a kaolin clay that we talked about earlier that's great for sensitive skin and for absorbing shine, silica and cornstarch. And I find that when I use the puff, I do stay matte a little bit longer than when I use a brush. I mean, I usually use a puff or a sponge. It doesn't keep the shine away quite as long as Huda Beauty does, but this is a really really, really nice powder if you have normal to oily skin. I don't use either of these or the next one on my under eye area because I have so much dryness and texture. You could be different. You might not be as dry as I am. You might not be almost 50 and able to get away with using a powder designed for oily to normal skin on that area. I just can't. But these on my next one are really nice picks for those of you who are looking to set those areas of your face that are more shine prone. Now let's talk about that drugstore pick. This is such a great powder that I've shared so many times over the years. It is drugstore and pressed and perfect for those of you with normal to oily skin looking to combat shine. I just shared the foundation counterpart to Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless Powder in my best drugstore foundations video. I'll have that linked for you down below with all the products and up in the corner too if you want to check it out. This runs around $10 and there are 26 shades available. Now it's not talc free, which is probably why it's so good and comparable to many high-end powders I've tested over the years, which has been a lot. Now the translucent shade is a little bit brightening, which would be great if you're applying this under your eyes, but because this is more of a mattifying powder and I have dry under eyes, I don't love it under my eyes, but I don't actually mind that on my face, but there are plenty of shades to choose from. If you want a tint or if you don't want any brightening, this does a beautiful job of blurring and giving a nice soft focus, natural airbrush finish to your complexion that mattifies without looking dry and minimizes shine. This is a really fantastic drugstore powder. It's been a while since I've done a setting powder video. I hope you enjoyed the variety I included with this one. Let me know if you've tried any of these or if you plan to down below. I read your comments. I love seeing your thoughts and the dialogue that you guys have and interjecting my thoughts too. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already. I'll see you next time. Bye.